Whenever I get gloomy with the state of the world, I think of the Brotherhood of St. Laurence Town Hall. General opinion is that we have these once a month and cover off on the same old thing, but I don't see that. It seems to me that the celebration of the festive period is everywhere. So if you want to recognise the festive period today in this town hall, send a seasonal shout out. It may not be much, but it's recognising a staff member, a volunteer, a colleague, or someone who you see doing a great job. All you need to do is to go onto Slido by typing sli.do into your browser and enter in the code DECHALL. That's DECHALL. And if you listen to it, because I've got a sneaking feeling, you'll find that seasonal shout outs are all around. See you soon. Welcome to a very festive Brotherhood of St. Laurence Town Hall. Firstly, I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we work and live, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And today, I'm here in our head office in Fitzroy, in the city of Yarra, where our BSL head office faces the beautiful African gardens and the wonderful big gums that we have there, and the stolen generation marker that serves as a strong reminder to our First Nations people. Now, many of us are online today, and I'd like to extend that respect to the traditional owners of the many lands and nations that we are geographically spread across today. My name is David Bain from Internal Communications, and it is my great pleasure to be your elf on a shelf and to bring the fun and festivity into today's town hall. Now, today we have our usual format, which we peppered with a bit of tinsel, a bit of heartwarming goodness to recognise the festive season. Now, one of the ways that you can contribute to this is by jumping onto Slido and by, simply by typing sli.do into your browser and using the code, funnily enough, for our festive theme, DECHALL, DECHALL. And once you're there, we want to hear your seasonal shout outs. Let us know who or what you have been grateful for this year. And hear out is that people will hear them too. So the gifts that we have for you underneath our town hall tree today we'll start off with a executive update from Trav before we move into a video presentation. Then we'll jump into a eggnoggy warm hot seat where we'll be reflecting on some of the Christmas wishes that we have from around the organisation. Finally, we'll end on question time with your executive leadership team and get to some shout outs. Now, given that we have just launched our disability action plan, I'd like to note that we have done our very best to ensure the accessibility of this event. There will be captioning that you can activate by pressing the CC button at the bottom of your Zoom browser. And we're also joined today by Auslan interpreters Priscilla and Holly as well, who has the most wonderful name for our festive town hall today. So thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. For the video presentation we have today, there is a transcript that we will post into the chat, as well as you may receive the town hall invitation in your email. Just to make sure that transcript. But that's it from me now. Is that let's bring on Trav for the main show. Enjoy.
Well, thank you, David. I think you're the main show. That was a very festive opening. Well done, and welcome to the end of 2022, everyone. We're almost there. Good morning, and I too want to thank Holly and Priscilla for being our Auslan interpreters today. Thank you. There was a lot of love actually in that start from David, and I think he was making the beautiful point that BSL really is all around at this time of the year, and in fact right throughout the year. And it's absolutely felt that way over the past fortnight. There have been a flurry of events and activities as we enter the home stretch for 2022. And one of those events was the Sambleration. And I'd like to start, as David did, as we all do during BSL events, by acknowledging the traditional owners and continuing custodians of the lands we're joining this town hall from. In my case, it's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I want to pay my respects to elders past and present. I want to extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who are part of this wonderful organisation, the Brotherhood of St Laurence. Last Monday was a special night for BSL. And what we did at the Sambleration resonated well beyond BSL too. It was a real honour to have key architects of the Uluru Statement and the Uluru Youth Dialogues there to speak with us. We had Auntie Pat Anderson, Professor Megan Davis, Alira Davis and Bridget Karma. Ash Dargan, for those that were there or watched online, was simply incredible on the didgeridoo. And Uncle John Baxter and Kyle Turner, I thought, represented BSL and their communities brilliantly. I was proud of all of us in making the Sample happen this year. We said very powerfully that Australia won't be complete without a constitutionally enshrined voice to Parliament. And we wanted everyone to understand internally and externally that BSL will be actively supporting a yes vote at the referendum on a voice to Parliament next year. Through our stretch wrap, we've set ourselves a challenge, and we've said, hand on heart, that we still have work to do as an organisation on our reconciliation journey. And we need to keep stepping up internally and externally if we're serious about walking together with First Nations people and being part of this movement for a better future for all Australians. So thank you to everyone who was involved in the Sambleration. It was a brilliant event, and I was very proud of how we could work together to deliver it under tricky conditions. And in fact, over the past few weeks, I've been so impressed by the gusto with which my colleagues right across BSL have been stepping up and finishing the year in style. Last Thursday was the celebration night for our David Scott School at the Frankston Arts Centre. And it was another incredibly special occasion as we celebrated the staff and the students of the school, especially the graduating senior students. And I'd like to pay tribute, as I did last week, to Acting Principal Stacey Bushell and all of her team at DSS. They've done a tremendous job this year and in all of the years since DSS was created. I was very lucky. I was able to take a guest, and I took my 6-year-old, Isabel, and she was just inspired by the students, especially the class leaders who spoke so powerfully on the night. And we were very fortunate to have David Scott's daughter, Caroline, and granddaughter, Liviana, there too. David Scott was BSL's executive director for 11 years, from 1969 to 1980. There's been some other exciting news for the David Scott School in recent weeks, with the announcement of Michael Cicluna as the next principal of the David Scott School. Michael is an experienced educator, having spent 14 years at the Pavilion School in Preston, working as a teacher, assistant principal, and for the last 4 years as principal. And during his time at the Pavilion School, Michael has been instrumental in delivering innovative programs that deliver best practice in education for students who are no longer engaged in mainstream schooling. And I know everyone will join me in being delighted at welcoming Michael to DSS when he starts in January. Last Thursday was also our birthday, BSL's birthday, 92 years to the day that BSL was founded in Adamstown, New South Wales. And what I've loved over the last fortnight are all the signs of us continuing that vision and extending BSL's legacy, whether it was at the Sambuloration or the DSS celebration night, or a number of special milestones that I'll quickly go through because there has been a huge amount of activity over the past fortnight. So the first example is that we entered our submission to the Commonwealth Treasury for the Full Employment White Paper that drew on expertise and experience from right across BSL. Our work in recent months on energy stress has been front and centre in the debates about the energy package to reduce the pain of energy price spikes for vulnerable homes and businesses right across the country. That legislation is in the National Parliament, the Federal Parliament today. Last Friday, we held the second workshop for those across BSL who are working with children and families to finalise our ambition for the early years and what BSL can put forward ahead of next year's Early Years Summit and the journey that will follow the summit about producing an early years strategy for the nation. Last week, we also received a preliminary rating of 4 stars for our Clifton Hill aged care residents, which puts us in the top third of aged care residences across the country, which is a credit to Lisa, to Millie, to Wendy and all of the team at Clifton Hill. So well done. Our stores have been incredibly busy and full of Christmas cheer. And I can see, having been to many of them, the festive decorations and clothes that people are walking out with. And it's been a wonderful period for the stores, particularly given how impacted we were as an organisation, especially our warehouse, by the flooding events in late October. But that's not it. In recent weeks, we've also released our 2023 volunteer calendar. And as David mentioned up front, we also released our disability action plan. And Joshua will say a little bit more about that in a moment when he speaks with David. This morning, you received a note, an email from our board chair, Stephen Newton, AO, where he echoed what we said last week at the Sambuloration about BSL's aspiration for the Uluru Statement and a voice to Parliament. And he also explained some new board and board committee appointments to strengthen BSL's governance as we enter 2023. In recent weeks, we've also held sessions with BSL's leaders and with members of the board about the next steps we're taking to develop and to finalise next year BSL's next set of strategic priorities. The focus in the conversations over the past fortnight have been game-changing ideas that BSL can take forward that would generate an outsized impact on poverty reduction. And I'm really looking forward next year to those conversations taking place right across the organisation about how we can shape a BSL of tomorrow and take Australia much closer to our vision of an Australia free of poverty. Yesterday, we also held the first meeting of the Culture Squad, which is a group from all levels right across BSL who are going to become champions to sustain the strengths of how we work together and also to improve the way we work together as an organisation. I'll be meeting with them every 2 months to hear directly how we're going from our frontline services right across the organisation. And we're looking forward to that process continuing through 2023, especially as the actions that the divisions have agreed in response to the recent pulse survey are advanced. And the other update I'd like to give this morning is around the steps we're taking following my announcement last month to reshape BSL's leadership structure for the future. So as promised, we've advertised the 4 roles I mentioned, both internally and externally. So they are for a Chief Operating Officer, a Chief Services Officer, a Chief Strategy and Impact Officer, and a Director of Aged Care Services. We'll be interviewing for those positions in the new year. And we've also begun the process to confirm acting management roles in our disability services team. And today I'm delighted to announce, following an internal expression of interest process, that Susan Hall has been offered and has accepted the role of Director Disability Services. Sue has been Acting Director NDIS for the past 18 months. And in that time, under Sue's leadership, the LAC, apologies, and the ECEI teams have done a brilliant job. They've achieved quality ratings above the national average. They've exceeded their KPI ratings, and they've achieved a fully recruited early childhood service, all during a pandemic. And what's become clear to me in discussions with Sue is that success for her is all about the team and the people in the communities who benefit from BSL's disability services. I know Sue's super excited about the opportunity to continue working with a group of such highly skilled and passionate staff at a critical time for the NDIS and for disability services and inclusion more broadly. She's determined to ensure that the needs and aspirations of people with disability are central to BSL's work and to the national reform agenda. And I'm very confident that in Sue, we've got a leader who will work collaboratively and constructively through her presence and through her leadership to advance, improve and influence systems internally and externally to ensure the best outcomes and opportunities for all people with disability. One of Sue's early priorities, as was explained last month, will be to advertise and confirm other acting roles across the disability services team. But for now, I just want to offer my congratulations to Sue. David, the last thing I want to say before I hand back to you is how tremendous it's been in recent weeks to attend so many end-of-year celebrations across BSL. Some have been impacted quite dramatically by the weather. The finance team celebration at Lawn Bowls a few days ago could have been a swimming lesson instead. They may need to do a separate end-of-year celebration at a time when they can stay dry. But what's been really wonderful to see is teams taking the time out to spend time together, laugh together and celebrate what we've achieved as an organisation across 2022. I've heard from lots of groups as I've made my way around the grounds that 2022 has been perhaps the toughest year of the pandemic as we've come back together in person, we've learned to work in hybrid ways, and we've had to juggle those ongoing demands of in-person and online delivery right at a time when cost of living pressures are impacting the people and the communities that we serve and we want to support. So I want to finish by thanking all of you. In the recent poll survey, about 85% of people here said how proud they were to be at BSL. And the video you'll watch in a moment about our annual report very much reflects that. I joined at the end of April and I'm so proud to be your colleague and to be a member of the BSL team. And I just want to wish everybody a safe, happy and restful period over Christmas and the new year. And I hope that you come back super excited about what we can achieve together in 2023. So back to you, David.
Thanks very much, Trav. And look, there's many reflections we can take from the past year, and I hope you've all been gathering to share those. But we shared some of the reflections of the work that that we have done at BSL through our annual report, and just a big shout out to Melanie Halstone on her work on the annual report. And we would like to show you that video now. For those who do require it, is that we post the transcript in the chat. You would have also received the the revised invitation. Our friends from Auslan will stay on, but this will also have the caption in. So let's play the thing.
My name's John, and I live in one of the apartments here at the Brotherhood of St Laurence. I slept on the streets for about 4 months. The worst time of my life, you know. I felt vulnerable. I was scared. But since being here, I've worked on those insecurities, those issues, and it's gave me the confidence to, you know, pick myself up and run with the ball again. Being in an environment where it's conducive to your mental well-being, it changes you as a person, right? It changes your way of thinking. I can't thank them enough, you know, for allowing me to be here and to participate, you know.
I think the difference that the Brotherhood of St Laurence makes, working with Aboriginal participants and having better understanding of Aboriginal culture, is immeasurable. We've got a reconciliation action plan, and we endeavour to inform and support and provide opportunity for all our employees to be able to engage at a far deeper level. And if they are not sure about any aspect of Aboriginal culture, we are there to help support and mentor through those processes.
A few years ago, I was pretty scared, felt pretty small, I guess. Yeah. I have had 3 support workers in the past, and they used to come out once a week to give me a hand to do things like cooking and basically how to learn how to look after yourself. It's got a lot better. Yeah, it's given me a lot of purpose in my life. My father passed away recently, and he's up there looking at me thinking how wonderful it is that I can survive on my own. Yeah, so that's a good thing.
أنا عشت بلبنان 5 سنين. يعني أول فترة عانينا كثير. حاولت أقدم على سفر على أكثر من محل. أنا وقت ما جيت على أستراليا ما كنت بعرف شيء منهم، كنت أقعد أبكي إنه ما عم بعرف أتصرف ولا أتيسر. فأنا بمعرفتي بهاي الجمعية كانت كثير تساعدني، وحسيت بالاستقرار بالراحة، ما عادش عندي خوف من شيء، خوف من بكرة. بس ما أعرف شيء ألجأ الجمعية وأسألهم، وهن يعني يدلوني، وهي حسيت باستقرار نفسي. ما عاد خايفة، ما عاد أتلبك بشيء. فكثير كان لهم فضل علي بإني يتحسن وضعي.
Well, when I got out of high school, I didn't really have much plan, to be honest. I found it kind of hard to speak to people, and I knew that wasn't going to get me anywhere, so I needed that support to kind of get out there and put myself into a working position. Well, everyone was really kind at the Brotherhood of St Laurence. Everyone's really understanding, and they'll help you the best they can, and yeah, they'll help you get those courses. They'll make sure you get that upskill you need, and yeah, they're great. I'm a totally different person. I'm working. I'm confident in myself and putting myself out there, giving everything a go.
We came here as a refugee. Originally, I'm from Iraq. I graduated from Medical College in Baghdad University in 1992, and I was working as a doctor in Iraq till 2013. Then I escaped from Iraq because of the violence. When you try to join any job, they ask you about Australian experience and how we can find this Australian experience, and we don't have a job. BSL make a very good difference for my life, because I was lost. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to put my first step, as a doctor in Australia. So when they give me this opportunity to work with the same field, it's like, it's like a gift.
I think BSL is a centre of gravity for change for the people in this country that are the most vulnerable. And in the wake of a pandemic that has disrupted lives across the country, but especially in Victoria, I couldn't imagine a better place to be to drive lasting change for the country that we love. We combine a broad and deep service footprint, not just in Victoria, but across Australia and across the life course. And we connect what we know works in delivering those services and building confidence and capability with first-class research on how that can be replicated, adapted and scaled to create an even bigger difference across the nation and secure lasting change for those experiencing poverty and disadvantage. BSL has always been about a bigger vision and a bigger future, and there is an opportunity to reimagine what that looks like after a pandemic that's disrupted lives for every Australian.
All right, get that, Charlie. Good side, mate.
Thank you.
Too good.
Thanks for playing that video. And if you haven't seen it before, it's really wonderful to watch and can be seen through our website where we have our annual report and all the stories that we have there. If you have seen it before, it's always great to revisit. But now we're going to jump into our hot seat. Now, each Friday night for the past few weeks, my family and I have been sitting down to watch a Christmas movie. And with a Christmas movie, there are some definite themes. And look, you know, it often starts with a thoughtful voiceover about the state of the world. It then introduces some main characters who are facing their own challenging situations. And then there is a Christmas wish for a better world. And in this festive town hall, is that with the help of a few of our friends, is that we're going to create our own Christmas movie. So firstly, we need a thoughtful opening monologue where we talk about the state of the world. So let's go. Over the past year, Australia's continued to face considerable change. While the immediate threat of COVID has started to subside, its after effects are still being felt in many different areas. However, BSL has remained determined to reconnect and reimagine Australia as a country where everybody can thrive. We have many examples of this through the work that, that we've been doing. And this year, we've also had a new executive director join to lead the organisation, and we've been living our values as passionate advocates for justice for the many causes we support. However, there's many examples and much that we can talk about for what's to come in the year ahead. But to help us to reflect on this, let's introduce our cast of characters. Is that from residential aged care services at BSL's Clifton Hill site, we have Amelia Kuranaj. Is that our safeguarding and family violence lead, Melinda Gregory. And we also have diversity inclusion lead, Joshua Morgan. If you could just all turn on your cameras and join us, is that welcome you all here to the town hall.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great. Thank you. Melinda, you are being displayed as guests at the moment. We are just fixing this in the background, but look, you know, welcome to you all. Millie, we'll start off with you now. Is that the residents at Clifton Hill have had a tough year. Can you explain a little bit about how you've managed?
Thank you, David. Yes, certainly. It has been a rough year to our residents, their families, and to our staff. Can you imagine that we have experienced 9 COVID outbreaks and 1 combined COVID and gastro outbreak within the past year? As you can imagine, this placed an enormous number of difficulties, not only to our residents, but also our beautiful families, where some outbreaks lasting more than 5 weeks. It has been a time that tested our resilience as a community of residents, families, and staff. Ongoing and far-reaching effects of COVID hit our aged care community quite quite hard. Residential aged care was faced with myriad of difficulties, whilst the rest of the world was slowly feeling the burden of COVID-19 easing. Aged care community experienced challenges of reoccurring outbreaks and much more difficulties than the height of the pandemic. The word rough is an understatement when we take into consideration of industry-wide staff shortages and staff burnout that we experienced in 2022. However, in reflection, I am so glad to see how far we have come as a community despite all these hardship and challenges. We rose to these challenges as a community and tackled them head on. I am so grateful to our residents, their families, and our dedicated staff for their resilience and dedication. Their spirit continues to amaze me, how the team always rise to the challenges with motivation of enabling our residents to enjoy a quality of life. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, Millie. Is that the work that you guys do there at Clifton Hill is amazing, and also is that your Christmas decorations also look amazing. I've seen those also. But Melinda, coming to you now, is that can you explain a bit about your work and how that work is needed more than ever at this time of year?
Yep, sure. So first of all, my role has 3 areas of focus that support BSL to ensure we are providing the safest possible environment for all our participants. So seeing that video just before was just so heartwarming because my role sits in underpinning across the organisation to embed the child safe standards across all divisions to ensure the safety of all of our participants, to build staff and volunteer capacity to understand how safeguarding children and vulnerable adults is everyone's responsibility. We all are in this together. And also the third part of my role is providing guidance and capacity building to understand our responsibilities to assess and manage family violence risks. And as you say, David, Christmas tends to be a time of more in our community, more family visits, more food shopping, more present buying, more alcohol consumed, more spending, more time with families. This season of more can then exacerbate families under strain. It's not always easy for everybody. The word joy isn't always part of everybody's lived experience of Christmas. And because of these strains that people have in community, this can lead to this time of year to more violence in households.
Thank you, Melinda. Is it, Joshua, we'll come to you now. Is it like we mentioned our disability action plan that we launched this year? What work do we need to do, like, now to be able to progress it?
Yeah, thanks, David. I just first wanted to say that I'm Wurundjeri country myself and coming from the Coburg office. The work with the Disability Action Plan is really about putting into action our intention at BSL, because we all know that at BSL we hold values of inclusion, equity, diversity highly, but what is important is putting that right into action. And I think it can be seen as incremental changes in how we do things. We can't change everything at once, but it is a journey of putting plans into place and then executing them to make BSL a more inclusive environment for people with disability. We saw, we will make mistakes, and we saw that at the launch with some accessibility technical issues. And I think that really illustrates why it's so important that we put plans into place, that we put procedures and guidelines, and we educate everyone at BSL. And I think it really points to access and inclusion is everyone's responsibility. It's not just the unit, it's not just an individual, it's everyone at BSL. We all want to include, and this goes further into all the diversity groups that we have and cohorts that we have at BSL. We want to include everyone. So yeah, that's what the work with the Disability Action Plan is.
Right, and so a question for you all now, because it is Christmas. is that what's your Christmas wish for the year ahead? What can people do? Is that, what would be the biggest gift to you and to everyone at BSL? So Millie, thrown to you first.
So my wish for our Brotherhood of St. Laurence Clifton Hill is to obviously to continue to thrive with and rise up to all these challenges that are thrown our way, and obviously to give like stepping up to drive lasting change.
Great. And Melinda, what's your Christmas wish that everyone can do, or how can the team get behind you?
So my Christmas wish and for the year ahead is one of peace for our participants. And I think it's best said in the words of John F. Kennedy in his final speech to the United Nations. So I'm just going to read that. It's from 1963. He said, "Peace is a daily, a weekly, a monthly process, gradually changing opinions, slowly eroding old barriers, quietly building new structures." That's my wish.
Great. And with new structures is that you do have your safeguarding policy in place. And we have been featuring information about that on the intranet with, for people to discuss as well.
Yep, it's great. So thank you for all of the work you've done on getting that out there. Please know, team, that I'm here to support all of your teams in any way I can, from safeguarding and family violence, and really keen to get stuck in next year with a whole lot of capacity building and training, just to really build on the skills we already have to make our organisation super, super safe for our participants.
Great. And finally, Joshua, to you now. What's your Christmas wish?
I guess my biggest Christmas wish for BSL is the Disability Employee Network, getting that to a really good place where people with disability that work at BSL can feel really included and have a space where they can come together and talk and share their experiences and grow with BSL. Yeah, so the DEN, the Disability Employee Network, that is it.
Great. And on that note is I wish the three of you all the best for the festive season, and all the wonderful work that you're doing in the various areas. Is that Millie, there's a shout out for you and the amazing work that the Clifton Hill team is doing. So congratulations on that.
Thanks,
Great.
Dave.
Great, thank you all. I'll get you to shut off your cameras now, and we will invite in our executive leadership team for one last question time for the year. So we have coming on, Trav's back, is that we have Sue Hall, we have Rodney Weston, we have Sonia Bajalik in what will be, sadly, her last town hall BSL. We have Melinda Moore, Shelley Mallett, and Lisa Rollinson. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Beautiful hat, Shelley, and also to Melinda. Now, jumping into into some of our questions now is that the top one that people have most upvoted is that BSL's financial report says that we have an accumulated surplus of $82 million. Will BSL use these funds to give staff above inflation pay rises? Rodney, this question sounds like it's for you.
And Merry Christmas to me too. Actually, it's a pleasure to be here for the Christmas Town Hall. And I hope, I'm looking forward, I have to say, to celebrating, resting and playing with friends and family over this period. And I hope everyone else is as well. So to leap to the question, first of all, I'll say I'm so delighted that people are actually reading the financial statements. There's so much work that goes into them, and sometimes it's really depressing, ignore my son in the background, to hear the to think that nobody reads them. So I know the finance team will be delighted, especially Jenny, Christine, Maxine, they'll be delighted to know that you're asking these questions and reading them. On the issue of the accumulated surplus, it sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. If you look on page 16 of the financial statements, which are available on our website, you'll see that it's part of the $148 million in net assets of BSL holds. So I'm making the numbers even bigger for you. There is a catch. $120 million of these assets are held in the form of property. And about 18 million as at June 30 were cash. So it's not all just money that we've got available to spend in an immediate sense. So that's the first limitation. But one thing that I will note, and I'll put out there, and I think we probably need to acknowledge this, is that the board for FY23 approved a budget with a loss in excess of $5 million. And that $5 million includes the pay rises that we front loaded to nearly all staff in July of 2022. And so to answer your question, to an extent, BSL is already doing that. And by deliberately running at a budgeted loss for FY23, we are doing what we can to maximise our, the support that we provide to staff, the acknowledgement we provide to staff of the time that they contribute.
Thank you, Rodney. There's also another question. People continue to love that financial report look, they've changed the figure to 72 million.
Yeah, the NDIS question, yes. Okay, so
yeah,
so
okay.
I'll answer that.
I'll just let you answer it.
Yeah, no, I'll answer it. Look, so again, this is even better because what people are doing now is they're reading the notes to the financial report, and people who read the notes to the financial report you are diligent people. If you want a job in finance, you're probably going to get it because that's the kind of person we want in the finance team. People who read the notes to the financial reports. For those who don't, it's note 5 on page 22 for revenue, which breaks down the revenue sources that BSL has, and it includes the NDIA for $72 million in FY22. And note 6 on page 26, which talks about the expenditure. There is a little line there, the detail gets there. It's total expenses before impairment, depreciation, and finance costs. So the $62 million does not include property leases, motor vehicle leases, and depreciation on computers or any other assets. So for NDIS, the total of those figures was $3.3 million. So that's a real cost. We actually pay out leases and everything else, and there's a bit of accounting magic that goes on the balance sheet. But at the end of the day, BSL is paying out $3.3 million indirectly through the balance sheet for NDIS on that one, on those items, property leases, motor vehicle leases, depreciation. The other cost is corporate support. And so for NDIS, the cost of corporate support was about $6.3 million or 9% of revenue, which is actually a really, really lean figure. If you go and benchmark most organisations that are going on in our service sector, we pay considerably more. And so we leverage the scale of NDIS to have a lower corporate support cost. And then for the last $1 million, for those who were really keen, we had to buy a whole heap of computers. So if you're in the NDIS team, you would have known that you would have been issued with a brand spanking new computer during the course of the last year. Those get recorded as assets, but of course you still got to pay for it in cash. And but in accounting terms, you can't count it as an expense. You have to depreciate it, and we have to depreciate it over the useful life, which for a computer is about 3 years. So so that's the answer to where the $10 million is. And then lastly, if there is any money left over under our grant agreements for the NDIS, we have to give it back. So we always try and make sure that we spend it all. And we're only giving back, I think, a couple of $100,000 for financial year 22, because we managed to spend 71.8 million on either delivering the service directly, paying for the property leases and motor vehicles and computers, corporate support, or buying computers.
Great. Well, so that it isn't the balance sheet that sold Christmas, we're going to move some of our seasonal shout outs now. Some of the seasonal shout outs that we have got on Slido is just wanted to give Trav a shout out for speaking and waiting for the interpreter to finish before continuing on at the town hall. Wonderful to see. There is a shout out to the Saver Plus team for all the hard work and happy holidays, and also is that thanks to Ronnie for the very thorough explanation of all things financial. It can be a minefield without your expertise. There's also, congratulations for Sue Hall on your recent appointment. So congratulations, Sue. There's also a shout out for our hardworking chaplaincy team for taking care of us all in a calming and supportive way. Look, there's many others, and we will keep on going. But someone has also said, great to see the first Aboriginal board member and RAP in the video. How is BSL working to become an employer of choice for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples?
I'll jump in there, David, and wonderful to see the shout outs. And I want to thank Melinda, Josh and Millie for their exemplary leadership in their various parts of BSL. So on the RAP, we've got a reconciliation committee meeting tomorrow where there'll be an update on all things RAP. It is terrific to have Dr. Kyle Turner part of the board committee, Nominations, Governance and People Committee. It's through that committee that we'll be updating the board on our reconciliation commitments. One of the things we've done recently is to advertise for a First Nations employment coordinator. And I know, having checked in with the team, that there were some terrific applicants. Interviews were held very recently, and an offer has been made to a brilliant candidate. So hopefully we'll have somebody in that post very soon, because one of the key commitments under the RAP is to boost the number of First Nations people employed within BSL, which we're determined to do. David, I might just take the one on Fitzroy while it's there, if you'd like me to.
Yep, go for it.
So as you know, we're with Fitzroy, the Fitzroy project. We're taking our time to decide what's next, so that it's consistent with our new set of strategic priorities and also the property strategy. One thing we are going to do though next year is to start to reactivate the area around the site. So we want to make the entrance off Brunswick Street much more accessible. And we're also going to upgrade the facade of the building to make it, more welcoming for people to come in, including people from around the community. And Rodney might like to say a little bit about that in a moment. Sumner House is continuing to be a place of integrated health and housing support for vulnerable members of the community, and that partnership between Launch Housing, St Vincent's and BSL. So there's no changes to the operations of Sumner House for the time being.
Great, thank you, Trav. A huge shout out to the Werribee LAC team for the huge efforts and support they have shown to both participants, their team, and BSL SM from Sam Reed. Is that coming to you guys now, is it from each of your divisions, is there a special Christmas gift that or thing that you must appreciate from from your various areas from this year? Who's going to go first? Anyone? No, you're all quiet. Okay, Sue's taking off her microphone.
Sure, David. I feel lucky every day when I step into an office and talk to our people, and I know that there's shout outs there from particular teams, but all of our LAC, EC and other central teams are just the work they do and the passion they do it with is brilliant. And I feel lucky to be a part of that team, and now being able to lead the team is really exciting for me. So I'm grateful just to be able to go into the office and hear the good news stories, hear the feedback from our customers on the experiences that they're having with our teams. I think we're making a real difference. And can I just be really sneaky and say a big shout out I couldn't take on this position without saying thank you to Rodney Weston, who has built up the NDIA team over the last 6 years, and really grateful that he's still a part of what we're doing. So thanks to Rodney.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Is that Melinda? Like, you know, how about from you know, from your team? Is that look, you know, amazingly, is that each time I pass your office, is that you tell me about like another award that that your team has been winning. So there's been like, you know, so there's been heaps of Christmas presents for the CP team.
Yeah, we've had a very big, busy year. Sometimes challenging. But like Sue, I'm incredibly grateful to be part of the community programs team. It's innovative, it's fun, it's fast moving, and I've enjoyed it immensely through 2022. I want to make a shout out though to Nicole Benson, who is my EA, who quietly supports me. She's my partner in crime. And all the other EAs who are working across the executive and senior leadership teams who have done so much work this year to make our lives easier. And just in general, I'm looking forward to 2023. And, you know, I think it's going to be a great year. So thanks, everybody.
Great, thanks, Melinda. Lisa, we just heard from Millie before, which is just one part of the aged care team. Is that do you have any, you know, particular thank yous?
I think that again, sort of mirror what others have said. I mean, it's a privilege to work within the aged care space, and particularly with the leaders such as Millie and Dustin, and all of the other teams within residential and community care. I think we've achieved great things this year. We've came out of the COVID space in January, where and I think that we've moved and grown and strengthened over the last 12 months. So in all areas, I mean, from achieving the 4-star rating within residential care to the work that we're doing in our day program. So in the Coolabah Centre, we've got people oozing out the doors. It's become so popular. And then to our community care space as well. So I'm looking forward to 2023 and continuing to build on the great work. And a shout out to all of the team members in aged care, because we're all part of the one, and all of us succeed because of all of the successes that we all bring. So well done, everybody.
Great, thank you. Shelley, quickly to you now, and what's come from your team?
So, you know, I couldn't pick out one particular gift, but I feel like the leadership team within SPA have been the gift that keep on giving this year, and just really given amazing support for the work, leading their teams together and in collaboration with other parts of the organisation. And I'm really deeply appreciative of the support that they've given and the leadership that they've shown, and through them, the work of their teams across all of it. Done lots and lots of work, lots of webinars, incredibly well attended webinars, and really deeply engaging with the public around some issues that really matter. We've actually been highly successful in a range of large grants in collaboration with other parts of the organisation. And as Trav mentioned, you know, we've recently been pulling together some significant pieces of work and in terms of submissions that represent the work across the organisation, but that have been pulled together by the Spark team in particular. And I'd like to thank Ismo in particular, who's been really, really supportive of me over the last 12 months. And I've just so deeply appreciated his advice and leadership that he's shown in relation to me personally, as well as the team. And finally, I would like to say that I've mentioned that we've been very successful in a number of grants, and Sonia, through her team and through some of the team that have now left as well, have provided real support for that work. And I'm really deeply appreciative, Sonia, of what you've been able to lead with your team and the contribution that you've made and the support that you've given Spark in enabling us to advance the work, both our own work, but also collectively of the BSL advocacy and influencing and practice and program work. So just want to make that note, seeing that this is your last town hall. Yeah.
Shelley, I really appreciate your kind words. Thank you. And I take those kind words as actually representative of all of the marketing and engagement teams. So a big shout out to them. Thank you.
Sonia, speaking for all of the marketing engagement team, is that we would just like to all say thank you. We said thank you last week at our Christmas get together, but in some shape or form, you have guided us and steered us in many ways, over quite a period of time. And I'm sure that your journey and contact with the people of BSL does not finish, when you finish. So thank you once again.
Thank you, David. And at that Christmas party, I was unable to say some words because I was just unable to. And before I lose it now, I'm going to probably just shut up and turn my camera off as well. So bear with me.
Thank you. Well, we'll dive into some other questions now. While we still have time, is that Rodney, is that we did have a question for you about about our current EBA negotiations for SHAD's awards and those stuff that it covers. Yet BSL has not provided a wage offer for almost 6 months. Can you talk to this a bit?
Of course, but before I do, I'm going to offer two thoughts. So first of all, I'll just slightly vary the congratulations. Say congratulations, Trav, on selecting Sue to be the Director of Disability Services. Smart choice. I can commend her. You didn't even reference check it with me, but you should have, but it would have been awesome. No, amazing to see the work that Sue has done over all of the years and helped to build this amazing team. And it is an amazing service that we provide. Also to the finance team, the finance team does an incredible amount of work. They do it very quietly. Too many of them are introverts and don't boast about it. But the testimony there is the BSL got a completely squeaky clean audit, which means no control findings, no corrections. Everything was done right and done well. And sometimes the finance team has to do things and deliver difficult messages and challenge really difficult deadlines that come in from funders. They do it all with incredible gracefulness and a real spirit of how do we actually use our very considerable financial skills to be able to deliver great returns for the organisation. The same for the business enablement team, who also just get on in the background, and they are involved in things like aged care accreditation, David Scott school audits, all sorts of other things, all of our procurement. They provide, just do things so thoroughly and professionally. It's something that we really should be celebrating. And there's so much work to celebrate. Sometimes you need an extra Christmas to celebrate it. So to answer the question, the simple reason is it's damned hard to figure out what's going to happen in the next 12 months to 18 months to 24 months with inflation and the economy more broadly. So we front loaded our pay increase. We normally used to do twice a year. We said we're going to do it all in one big whack in July. And we provided a relatively substantial increase at that point with a view towards covering cost of living increases at that time. We know that the cost of living is continuing to go up. I would recommend that we start advocating a little bit harder with government. Government always loves to rattle the can and say how much they support the workers, but they're offering a piddling little 1.7% increase in aged care in the core funding, which is less than half the rate of increase in wages. So what we'll be aiming to do is to have a reasonable wages offer, the best that we can come on with early in 2023. Hopefully by then we'll have a clearer position on what our funding is and what the rate of inflation is doing. And in normal times, would have been much, much quicker. We used to be much more predictable than this. But as everyone can appreciate, even the Reserve Bank boffins and the Treasury boffins are getting it wrong nearly every time they speak. And we want to try and give the best offer that we can. So I hope that answers the question. If you don't like it, please blame me and come to me and talk to me about it.
Just to add in there, David, one of the big levers is the rate of indexation increases for our services. And we will be continuing the conversations with the Treasurer's Office, the Finance Minister's Office and the Department, because frankly, the rate of indexation increases is far too low. And we've made that point very powerfully and publicly, that it's stretching community services right across the board and impacting our ability to make sure that that our team are not properly supported. So we'll be doing that as soon as we can get back to Canberra in the new year. Can I quickly though, thank you because you bring, I can see the shout outs up here. You've got quite the setup here. I feel like I'm in a TV studio, but you've brought such energy and enthusiasm, you and all of the communications team, to these town halls. I know you're desperate to do more of them in person, as am I, but thank you. And thanks to everyone. It's been a brilliant year. You've all worked incredibly hard. And as a number of the executive have said, please do look after yourselves over the Christmas break. Spend time with your loved ones, family, friends, and take the time to reflect on the year and to rejuvenate and refresh. But from all of us, thank you. And I'm looking forward to the first town hall of 2023.
Great, thank you very much. On that note, that brings us to an end, have a very Merry Christmas, one and all, or however you choose to celebrate this festive season with your friends and loved ones. Thank you, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.